tal amigos? ¿Cómo están? Bienvenidos a FlipLatino, el podcast. Today we have a special guest, not just a friend of mine, it's a great attorney, and he, he's probably 50-60%, of the investors in the Chicagoland area use Castle Law. My good friend, Gary Davidson. Gary, welcome.
Antonio, thank you so much.
No, thank you for coming. I know, we had this planned a long time ago, but you're, a busy man. But, this is a podcast that we bring, into Spanish and English. And, we just want to bring people who can, give ideas and, bring value to the community, and not only in the investing side, but also, business owners, entrepreneurs, and everybody who's in business, trying to get into business. But tell me, what's your story?
Well, Antonio, I grew up, my father was an assembly line worker at Caterpillar, mostly on strike.
Okay.
In Montgomery, Illinois. In fact, most of his colleagues were Hispanic.
Okay.
And he worked as a janitor when he was off work, because most of the time they were on strike. My mom was a secretary, so we grew up in a very, very humble background. But I got interested in law because my best friend's father was an attorney.
Oh, okay.
And I used to ride my little green banana seat bicycle with a 5-speed shifter right in the middle,
okay,
over to his house. And you'd go down this lane, and you'd see this big, beautiful house with tennis courts and a nice lake. And I thought, boy, that's what I would like to do when I grow up. And so I was influenced by him and became interested in law and politics.
Okay. Let's say in your family, you guys talk about money all the time. I mean, in my family, we didn't talk about money when we grew up,
No, yeah. I'm very, very traditional family. Money wasn't discussed. Dad went to work. You had enough to get by. We didn't know any different. So while we had very, very humble upbringing, you could have thought you were the richest guy in the world because all your neighbors were just like you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and I get it, because it happened to me. I mean, we didn't grow up with any money, But let's say, who was the biggest influence, in let's say, going to school? I know you say one of your friends, but your mom and dad, anybody, give you the push to say, hey, you can do it, or you just happen to say it?
Yeah, Antonio, I have to say it's the same person. It was one of my good friends' fathers, because he was a real connector. And okay. What's good about Gary is that I'm always constantly connecting other people. And it was amazing when I used to go to his house, on his back porch. He was very involved in politics. So okay. There were all of these politicians on his back porch, and they were constantly, connecting people and putting people in positions and getting people jobs and helping other people. And so I had this just strong desire of acts of service and helping other people. And so I viewed law as a way to be able to help other people create what I always say, which is a life worth living,
sure,
a career worth having, a business worth owning, and of course a legacy worth leaving.
Great, and that's, sometimes people doesn't have those figures. I mean, my mom and dad, they push me. My mom always, do the right thing, go to school and all this stuff. But sometimes some of the people out there, they don't have that figure, right? In your case, you have, this a friend of father of your friend, pushing you to do something different. And sometimes it's not just I'm gonna do what he's doing, and that one, it changed you, and how difficult was for you to say, well, I got into law, but how was the journey, to get there?
Yeah, I mean, I always like to talk about the alternative path. So for for a lot of the people who might be listening, and for yourself, and for people that we know, we know that the path that we're currently on with whatever, you go graduate from high school and you get a job, and but then there's this alternative path that's a lot more scary, of taking risk, investing,
Sure.
going to law school, whatever it may be, becoming a real estate investor. And that is what I refer to as that alternative path. And I was always motivated to try to get to the top of whatever it was. So I got involved in Boy Scouts, and I became an Eagle Scout.
Okay.
And people said, well, why did you become an Eagle Scout? And I said, well, because that was the top thing to get. That was the top award. So that desire to succeed, that desire to win, the desire to get to the top is always something that is just kind of been inside of me. And as a result of that, now what I do is I try to help others, because relationships are my currency.
Sure.
Money is something that we all need to get around, but trading relationships and helping others is really what's kind of at the core foundation.
When you, let's say from high school to law school, did you have any other jobs? I mean, what kind of jobs do you have?
Well, Antonio, you and I are both getting old. I have to admit my son has been very, very good about having jobs, but I had a job from the moment that I can even remember.
Yeah.
And all sorts of different jobs, whether it was doing things around the neighborhood, all the way to, I remember I had to fill out paperwork and get some sort of waiver through the state of Illinois because I was too young to actually have a job. So there was something that you could fill out to be able to actually work.
Yeah.
So I worked at a drugstore mopping the floors and taking out the garbage, and I worked at a trucking company painting and changing tires, and so throughout my basically ever since I could walk, I've always had different jobs, which has kind of instilled in me that work ethic.
Do you have any experience that changed, let's say, your life, or changed the way you view the society in that time and now? There was something that changed your life in an instant?
Sure. Actually, as you know, because you have observed on Facebook, it wasn't too long ago that I was very unhealthy, pretty overweight,
Yeah,
happy guy.
I know.
And I put up a post on Facebook, because I'm going to be 52 this year. I put up a post on Facebook saying, I checked all my boxes. I own the largest real estate law firm in the state of Illinois. Big, we do all sorts of other things, estate planning, corporations, litigation, but
Sure.
My core business is real estate. I've got a beautiful wife. Both my kids are at very good colleges. And you would think that everything has been, achieved. And I was putting up this post about, like, I'm looking for my next thing. I've kind of checked all my boxes, and a guy by the name of Steve Werner reached out to me. He's my coach now. And he said, well, it doesn't look like your health's in order. And then he kind of just, quite frankly, called bullshit on me. And then we started talking about how I hadn't actually achieved all the goals that I wanted in my business.
Yeah.
And then I started having a self-reflection. I don't want to, act like Frank Montreux here and talk for 4 hours.
Okay.
But I don't know. Have you interviewed Frank yet?
No.
You guys will hear from Frank soon enough. But I realized that if I had to think about it, my wife would talk about how on family vacations I was there, but I wasn't present. And I started thinking about different things that I had missed with my kids sporting events. And I made a decision about 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, that I was going to make my business part of my life,
Okay.
rather than my life part of my business. And
Other
when
way
I
around.
changed that around, my business took off even more. It's amazing. If you think about all of us,
Sure.
we're shortly after the first of the year, everyone says, I'm going to work out. But you plan your workout within your work day. And for whatever reason, the workout never kind of gets done.
Right.
So, but if you put that workout first as a priority, and somehow the work still gets done. So just transforming and making your health and your personal life the most important cornerstone has been transformative for me.
No, and I see, if you don't mind me to ask, how many pounds do you lose, and, what's your workout routine these days?
Yeah, so I lost, and by the way, none of that Ozempic, none of the Wegovy, none of that crap.
I know.
This was all what I call gritty wellness,
Okay.
meaning you can't outrun your fork, so calories expended exceed calories intake, period. End of story.
What time do you start working out?
So on Thursdays I get up. I was up this morning at about 3:45
Oh, wow.
in the morning. Here's the other beautiful thing about waking up early. You tend to not want to go out to the bars or go out late at night and eat, because about this time I start getting a little bit tired.
Okay.
So by your biological clock or human nature, there's no more midnight trips at the bar.
Sure.
Because a human can't survive on 2 or 3 hours of sleep. So try to focus on that, and we've got to get in a minimum of 4 to 5 cardio a week and 4 to 5 lifts. So
Okay.
I'm 52. I'm not trying to lift Volkswagens here. just get the routine in.
No, but you look great, and I know you overcome, a lot of stuff, and I mean, I seen, now in Facebook and posting that, I mean, it's great, you look great, and I didn't know, that you had that realization that, I got everything, and then you realize that, well, I'm not healthy.
And really, at the end of the day, again, money's important, but my relationship with you and my relationship with other people and helping people, if somebody that listens to this and is motivated by something I said and they're trying to build a business,
Sure.
I don't care if they're trying to sell Subway sandwiches or open a car wash. If I can provide them with value, that's sort of my why.
Has your vision evolved from where you started to now? I mean, it's something that it changed, or
Yeah,
or not?
it definitely did. When I graduated from law school, I wanted to be a traditional lawyer. I wanted to go to court. I wanted to, win cases. I wanted to do real estate closings. And, probably about 40 years old, 42 years old, I had a lot of my friends from law school, divorce, drug addiction, alcoholism, suicide.
Oof.
And we've probably never talked about this. That's how Casa Law evolved, is that what I discovered is that more than 50% of the attorneys in the United States are solo or small firm practitioners, meaning 1, 2, or 3 lawyers.
Okay.
And of those attorneys, more than 50% of their time, and I bet you this applies to all businesses, more than 50% of that person's time is spent on non-revenue generating activities, meaning payroll, meaning running to Kinko's and make copies, all of the things, because a lot of us want to own a business. But what you discover is that you often find that you own your own job and you're trading time for dollars. So what I did was I built a law office that's unique. I don't think there's anything like it in the United States, where lawyers can come in, we'll run their entire back office for them so that they can spend a majority of their time on revenue generating activities, majority of their time with clients, and as a result, they free up their time so that they can actually have a life worth living, and they can spend time with their kids. This is something that we all focus on. This is what you teach in FlipLatino.
Sure, yeah.
Because you're providing people an opportunity to have that passive income through the techniques that I know you're teaching.
Yeah, so now that after you let's say graduate from law and everything, who was your greatest influence to start this business or run Castle Law?
So we represent a lot of private equity groups and hedge funds. So my partner, who's a lot smarter than me, was helping doctors' offices, dental offices, and all these other types of businesses, CPA firms, sell to private equity.
Okay.
And I saw what these businesses had to do in order to position themselves properly and how it needed to be built to sell to private equity. And law firms don't sell. Lawyers die at the desk. And so what I did was I was influenced by seeing some of these other types of businesses, dental offices, doctor offices, and how they've structured it. And we've taken that and brought it to Castle Law. So I was influenced by the industry and how that was moving.
Great. We know, and we talk about that. What's the representation and, investors and other, I know you represent some hedge funds. What's the representation in the state of Illinois of Castle Law and the investor side?
Yeah, what types of things do we do for investors? Yeah, so we're soup to nuts for investors. We represent them on the acquisition and disposition of real estate. We represent them in the unlikely event, or in the hopefully unlikely event, that they have an eviction need.
Okay.
We represent them in forming their entities in order to mitigate their risk and maximize their return, because anybody can file the necessary paperwork with the Secretary of State. It doesn't require much, but what goes into those operating agreements have significant tax implications for people, so we help bring down people's risk and maximize their return. And any type of litigation, we help them with that. Best way to describe it is, for a real estate investor, we'll handle anything except for your divorce.
Okay.
And I don't think you're getting divorced.
No.
You're afraid of your wife just like I'm afraid of mine.
Yeah.
We won't handle your DUI. So we won't do any criminal law. We won't handle if you get in a car accident. We don't handle any personal injury. But anything related to your business, we're going to be there for you. And what I like to say is, again, like we started, I'm a connector, and my stock and trade is relationships. So what lights me up and also pays me well at the same time is when someone calls me and says, hey, I need an electrician. Hey, I need a this, I need a that. Because I know that they're my trusted advisor. Sure. Am I getting paid for that phone call? Absolutely not. But when I get that phone call, that means a lot to me because I know they trust me. And so I'm sort of the center of the universe when it comes to that, where I'm just making all of those connections and trying to help others.
Sure. How many attorneys do you guys have, and how many offices right now?
We have an office in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. We have an office in Oswego, Oak Brook, Illinois. right down the street, over by Gibson's, Joliet, and Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay. How many attorneys total?
You know,
Could be.
We could have, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 20 some attorneys. We just lost one.
Good.
But we're always constantly hiring. We've brought a couple more on. We like to believe that when we bring on an attorney, it's like a marriage, and we hope that they're going to stay for forever.
Sure.
But you know what? I've had quite a few attorneys who have been with me in real estate who now have their own successful real estate law firms. And while that wasn't something that I wanted or desired, I'm very proud of that they've gotten their mentorship with me and they've built their own little business.
Okay. Do you think, a person or an investor, let's say, or the people who want to do business, they have to have special, they got to be special, or they need to have a different mindset to start a business, or just start?
I think that anybody who's an investor or anybody who wants to start a business, number one, you have to completely let go of any limiting beliefs. So limiting beliefs would be anything that says, I can't do this because of X, Y, or Z. We have to come up with strategies where we're going to have something unique that we can offer. Some sort of little niche, some sort of twist, whether it's investors that say, I'm going to do a novation, or I'm going to do articles of agreement for deed. You know, come up with some strategies. The best thing, you know, if we can dive into real estate just a tad bit here, Antonio, I was talking to a group the other day, and I asked them, I said, you know, if there was a property that was $200,000 and the mortgage, the property, they wanted $200,000 for it because the mortgage was $200,000.
Okay.
But the property's only worth $180,000. What would you do? Would you buy it? Like, well, no, of course I wouldn't buy it. I have to pick. Property's only worth $180,000, and it's got a mortgage, and they want $200,000 for it. I said, how many properties do you think exist like that? Oh, there's a lot of properties like that. We're constantly passing on them. Real estate agents, I can't list your property, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if we bought that property on contract, and that person has an interest rate of 3.25%.
Yeah.
Their mortgage payment is $1,200, but we can rent that property for $1,800. Could we buy it from that person on contract for $200,000? Because all they're looking for is $1,200 or $1,300 to cover their mortgage, but yet we have a net cash flow of $500 or $600.
Sure.
In that case, that's a property we can buy. So coming up with those strategies, and quite frankly, as a point of self-promotion for myself, Antonio, you know, a lot of people shop for attorneys like they shop for Sony TVs.
Yeah.
And you go to Home Depot, you go to Best Buy, you go on Amazon, and the TV is exactly the same. It's coming from China. It's the same model. You figure out this one's, you know, $300, this one's $265, and this one's $245. Click, $245, right? Attorneys are more like, you know, somebody you're going to have heart surgery for.
Sure.
With. You're not calling and trying to find the cheapest heart surgeon. You're going to try to find the heart surgeon when you wake up from the anesthesia, you're going to be alive.
Exactly.
And so these kind of strategies, like anybody can close a real estate deal. It's not complicated. But coming up with these unique strategies, and like for me, we represent one of the largest hard money lenders in the United States.
I know that.
We represent a lot of banks. We're filing the foreclosures. So what are the two things that investors covet? Access to inventory and money. And what do we have? Access to inventory and money. So I like, again, as the connector, connect those things. And what value is that? A lot of value.
That's a lot of value, yeah. Talking about investors, you guys represent, wholesalers, everybody, most, in the state of Illinois. How do you see the economy, let's say, 2025? What's the trend? Is people still buying investment? Talking about, fix and flip, rental, and
Sure,
stuff.
sure.
What have you seen?
Yeah, I mean the investor market. I mean, I go to all these conferences in Miami Beach and New York, and everywhere. All these guys from MIT and Harvard and people that are a lot smarter than me. I graduated from Northern Illinois University.
Okay.
Not that Northern Illinois University isn't a good school. We beat Notre Dame this year in football, but investors are still pretty bullish in the real estate market. Real estate market is going to remain stable. We're not anticipating any sort of major shift in interest rates. Whether you are a fan or not a fan of the current president, all indications are he's going to be very, very favorable for real estate investors and real estate. He comes from a real estate background. So a lot of confidence in the stock market. We're seeing good things there. So we're not going to see a real major decline in interest rates. We're going to start seeing some more foreclosures coming through the pipeline as a result, finally, of COVID unjamming things. At least my friend Ryan Smith tells me that. And have you interviewed Ryan yet?
No, not yet.
Ryan's another one we're going to probably listen to.
Yeah.
I think things are going to remain pretty stable here for 2025. Nothing dramatic, nothing up, nothing down. Kind of stay stable.
So, the investor nationwide still buying and still, in the business of, buying properties, fixing, flipping.
Yeah, with our national relationships and through our at these national conferences with the lenders, we're seeing real estate activity in all 50 states at a pretty strong pace here. Actually, just in the last couple of weeks, things have really started to pick up incredibly. Florida, again, Florida's taking a major hit in terms of pricing. So everybody's, pricing went way up during COVID. Then we had a couple of natural disasters.
Yeah.
The cost of flood insurance. So Florida's an opportunity potentially. Since this is a live video, you get to hear me turn my phone off. But yeah, even Florida. I mean, Florida's very interesting. I don't own anything in Florida, but I'm going to start looking potentially maybe a little bit at Florida with this. When people start to run away from things, that's when you need to get curious and think about where the opportunity exists.
Yeah, and I think still people, I mean, we're here in Chicago, 15 degrees. But people wants to go to Florida anyway, because it's 70,
Antonio, you talking about Chicago, I got to tell people about this. And I don't think I've told you this.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Chicago, Illinois, the only place in the continental United States where every major railroad stubs into it.
Okay.
BNSF, Canadian National, CSX. It's the only place in the entire United States you can get one-day semi-truck. New Orleans, LA, New York, Minneapolis. One-day semi-truck. And it's the only place in the continental United States you can get from the Great Lakes all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. So what does that mean for those of us who are here in Illinois? Despite the horrendous anti-business climate that the state of Illinois has, despite the budget crisis, despite the debacle of a governor we have, despite the anti-business climate and the high tax environment, real estate in Illinois is very, very, very bullish because all of your major intermodal facilities, Amazon, they're all located right here. Because if you're trying to ship a product from a logistics perspective, you want to get it as quickly to a place as possible. So that's why everybody's locating right here. All your semi-trucks, all of those intermodal facilities, all are located right here. And that's extremely good news for real estate investors, because with all of that warehousing comes jobs. With all of those jobs comes a need for housing.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good observation because, there is a lot of jobs in Chicago, no? And a lot of people lives in not only the Chicago area, but the, suburban area, and everybody has a job,
Yep.
And I never thought about that, but, that particular thing, bringing jobs and bringing, the real estate, to go up. And, I do flips, and there's still, properties, good properties where you can make money in Chicago.
Absolutely.
What do you see, in I know you're very, good, and, you give us a lot of help, with the Latino community, and your company has been, a partner with FlipLatino and everything. How do you see the Latino investors in the last, let's say, 4 years? Have you seen an increment in people buying properties? Because you represent a lot of the, Latino investors. What have you seen?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I think I saw a statistic somewhere that if you took the gross domestic product of all Latinos in the United States, it represents like the 13th largest country in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the 13th or the 21st, but I mean, it's up there. And so as people get to the second, third, and fourth generations, the idea of, I know almost every friend of mine who's first generation, they talk about the story of when they came over, nobody had the intention of staying. That's the idea, is that you save money and you go back.
Yeah, I go a year and then.
But I've never, once people get here, they're like, yeah, the house that I'm building in Mexico, I'm not going back to it. And then people start to, build their real estate portfolios here. And we're seeing that more and more and more, and it's thanks to people like you who are bringing that education to people about how to create wealth, how to leverage, how to use lending as an instrument, because that's another thing that we know about the Latino culture is, you save the cash, you buy the product, right? Yeah. But now it's not practical to build a portfolio of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 properties if we're saving and then buying a house. So the idea of helping people learn the BRRRR strategy, helping people learn how to leverage, those are the sorts of values that you're bringing to all of those people who you serve.
And like I say, and that a lot of your clients now, they're Latino who already speak Spanish or English. You guys, have you seen an increment, let's say, in a couple of years?
Oh, we've seen a dramatic increase in our clients. Of course, we have paralegals who speak Spanish. We just lost our Spanish attorney, but by the time this video comes out, I'll have another attorney that speaks Spanish on board with us, and we enjoy a very strong relationship with a lot of cool things with actually Mexico. As you know, I have relationships with the states of Aguascalientes and Durango and Zacatecas. And I travel back and forth, and they're coming up here, the politicians, and they're seeing what's happening, and we're trying to bring different imports here and establishing relationships with our clients.
What do you see in the biggest trend or opportunity right now? Fix and flip, the BRRRR method, new construction. Do you think the real estate, because new construction has stayed low for a long time, what do you see coming up?
Yeah, I think that for 2025 and right now, the burst strategy is really the easiest way to get involved with real estate investing. The housing market is still very, very strong. So that makes fix and flips good when you can find a property to acquire.
Sure.
But it's a little bit of a needle in the haystack. You've got resources that I know that you share with your people in FlipLatino to source those properties. But, when you're first getting involved, I think the burst strategy is good. New construction, I think we all need to keep an eye on. I think that's going to be coming back up pretty strong. Because, again, housing inventory is very, very short. By the way, my theory on why the housing, why we have a housing shortage, is because if we go back a year and a half ago or so, when interest rates were 3.5%, I'm a perfect example. I like to say I live in a McMansion. I live in this huge, huge house, which is just my wife and I now. I don't need it. Yet my interest rate is 3.25%. So my wife and I were like, she was talking about like, we need to downsize. We don't need this huge house with, 36 bedrooms. No, it's not really 36 bedrooms, but it's we don't
close.
We don't need this big huge house. But I'm like, look, we're at 3.25% interest. I could, it's going to cost me $500,000-$600,000 for a townhouse now. Why would I buy that? My monthly payment is going to be negligibly less.
Sure.
So that's why people aren't wanting to move up. People aren't wanting to move down because they're stuck in that interest rate. So we got to kind of let that flush itself out. Everyone's kind of whining or complaining about interest rates right now. Well, guess what? I've been on this earth for 52 years. Interest rates aren't high.
They're not coming back at 3%, right?
They're not coming back at 3%. I'm like, would you loan money to anybody at 3%?
Probably not, right?
Right? So, but these interest rates now, everyone's like, oh my gosh, they're high. No, they're not high. When I bought my first house, I think interest rates were 10% or something.
Yeah, so, I remember, at least I seen 9%,
Yeah.
But,
your credit was better than mine.
not that much. What do you, I know there's a lot of people, who pay cash or people who buy properties, and they don't use an attorney. What would you say to those guys, because sometimes, the $500 or whatever the attorney charge, is the best investment you can do.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you never have a problem, then there's nothing wrong with it, right? But relative to your relative risk, there's 3 phases. Phase 1 is unconscious incompetence. Phase 2 is conscious incompetence, and Phase 3 is conscious competence. So what I mean by that is you don't know what you don't know, right? So you think that you're saving money by not using an attorney, but when I go to a closing and I say, well, what's this 6.06 endorsement? What's this comprehensive endorsement? What's this EPL? You've seen those. I mean, the title fees are $3,000-$4,000. The attorney fees, I think we charge $675, $695. I would say, I just went to a closing the other day with somebody, and I would say that probably 80% of the time I save them half of my attorney fee, and about 50, the other half of the time I save them all of the attorney fee just in savings, and they basically get a free attorney. So how taxes are prorated, all of those different elements is people are stepping over dollar bills to pick up pennies, just in my opinion. It's kind of like asking the dentist whether you should brush your teeth, but the reality is I see it every day. You don't even know the questions to ask to get to the right answers. So people think that they're in good shape, But the reality is there's so much stuff that they just missed and overlooked.
And the other thing is real estate is very extensive and risky, you know, and sometimes, I mean, we've done a lot of this stuff, you know. We closed more than 1,500 deals, you know, together. But I still have questions, you know, and I know some of the stuff.
Right.
You know, and people who just signing on the first and second property, they don't want to use an attorney, and they get, you know, they getting into all these deals without representation.
Well, you know, the other thing is, I mean, in addition to like the money that we save people and just making the process simpler, and the other thing is Illinois is an attorney state, so anytime that there's not an attorney on the other side, our job is the attorney when somebody else doesn't have an attorney or they're representing themselves is to bludgeon them. I mean, we're just going to punish them and we're going to take advantage of them and teach them a lesson. But the other component is it's basically like buying the cheapest form of insurance that you could possibly buy, because if you're buying something for $100,000, $200,000, if you represent yourself and you screw it up, you get to look in the mirror. If I screw it up, I have malpractice insurance. If you close it with a second mortgage, that's on me. I have to pay that $60,000 mortgage. If you close something and the survey reveals that the garage is built halfway over onto the neighbor's yard, which in the city of Chicago can happen very, very often.
Yeah.
You know, you do it yourself. Guess what? You've got a $100,000 property or maybe even more. If I screw it up, I have malpractice insurance that covers that claim.
And not only that, you know, when you're talking about that stuff, you know, sometimes the title, you know, gets messed up, you know, and if they don't know, and sometimes they don't have, you know, the insurance, you know, you know, for them, they don't know what, we hear stories where, you know, good thing that they had, you know, title insurance.
Correct.
Otherwise, they would pay, you know, $50,000 lien, you know?
Yeah, you could end up with something that is completely, you know, you basically just wasted your money because you've got this property that now you've got this, like you said, $50,000 lien that's still on it. And when you're buying single-family houses, $50,000, that's your profit and then some usually.
Yeah. So you recommend people buy the title insurance?
Yeah, we really won't even close a property unless somebody uses a title company as the title insurance, because that would be like owning your own home and not having a hazard insurance policy. I mean, it's just, it would be crazy. Now, I will say this, Antonio, and for everybody that's listening, I make a lot more money on litigation, So in some ways, I'm not sure if I want to encourage people to use an attorney in a real estate closing, because if you don't, just remember, we're lawyers. We'll either get you coming or we'll get you going. So if you don't use a real estate attorney, you're still going to get to me. It's just the bill is going to be a lot more. I'm kind of being funny about that, but it kind of makes the point.
And one thing that you say, you know, questions are free?
Answers cost money.
and I was always repeat that, you know, Gary said, you know, questions are free.
Answers cost money.
Yeah. So, what do you think, you know, on the new investors coming in? They should be educated, or they just jump into the boat without?
No, absolutely. I mean, look, you don't become an electrician without, you know, learning or being an apprentice. You don't, you know, every single thing in the state of Illinois, whether you're going to be a barber, you know, you have to learn and understand what you're doing. All of us have bought, and for whatever reason, we oftentimes still do it, the desk or the chest of drawers with the instructions from China, and we take the instructions and we throw it to the side. And I don't know how they have done this to us, but for whatever reason, you are able to assemble that 90% of the way, and every single time the first piece that you put together was the wrong way, and you have to disassemble the entire thing down to the first piece. And real estate is the same way. Like, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. You have to have somebody that's a mentor. Even me, again, I've built one of the largest law firms in the state of Illinois. We're now national, and I'm getting up at 3:45 for a coaching call because I understand that I have to constantly be learning. Things are changing. The real estate market changes. The conditions change. The laws change. So you have to surround yourself with other people. Because, again, we don't want to be that person that's unconsciously incompetent.
Sure.
You don't even realize that you don't know. And being around people to bounce that off of, having mentors, having a circle of support like a FlipLatino is just absolutely a must for someone's success.
So it's for you, and you think it's very important to have a team of people who work with you. Let's say your attorney, your CPA, your lender, your contractor. Let's say in this arena,
and someone who specializes. Again, in 2025, we live in a specialized world. Not just a CPA, but a CPA that focuses on real estate and real estate investors.
Real estate investing.
Yeah, not just a contractor, but a contractor that really understands and knows real estate investment, and so on and so forth. Same with an attorney. There's lots and lots of attorneys. If you had to think about it, I mean, this stuff is actually sort of comical. How many people would do you really want to go to the attorney that does your divorce, helps you when you get a DUI, does your will and estate plan, and then does your real estate closing? How well do you think he does any one of those specific things?
Yeah.
So at Castle Law, we specialize. Each attorney specializes in a very specific area. If you call me for an eviction, I'm going to say, go see Brian Krause. If you call me for, an estate plan, I'm going to go see Ed Cherry, and so on and so forth.
So a specialization is very important these days, in real estate investing, not every realtor, works with investors. Not every attorney works with investors. Not every CPA, works with investors. They need to have the knowledge in that specific arena, and that's one of the important things, that I seen, and that's the team you want, right?
Yeah, and Antonio, not only does not everyone, but I mean, I'm going to put a number on it. I bet you it's within a few percentages. 95 to 98% of realtors don't do investment real estate.
Yeah.
95 to 98% of real estate attorneys don't do investment real estate. If you said double closing, wholesale, assignment, your average attorney is going to say, oh, that's illegal. You can't do that, right?
Yeah.
Well, when attorneys are very cocky, so when they say they can't do something, all that means is I don't know how to do it, right? Or I don't want to take the time to do it. And with realtors, it's even more important, because when you're the typical realtor that wants to sell you or me our house, your wife or my wife is going to say, I like that house and I want to live there. And then that's how you and I are making our decision.
That's it, right?
And it's not going to be based on, what the cash flow is on it, or what the market time is on the flip, or any of that thing. So with real estate investing, you can buy real estate almost blindfolded because you're looking at raw numbers. It doesn't matter whether you like a tri-level or this. It's all about the raw numbers.
Sure.
With regular real estate, when we're going to live there, it's like, do I like it or not? I either like a circular driveway or I don't. I either like living next to a cemetery or I don't. I either like a willow tree in my yard or I don't. So the average realtor doesn't understand how to underwrite or even begin to understand what a real estate investor is looking for.
Yeah. So and that's why the investor need to work with real estate agents who understand what are they looking for. I'm not looking for a nicer house. I'm looking for a house that I know is going to be worth more, and then I can make some money.
Exactly.
Yeah. You touched a point about wholesaling. Wholesaling in Illinois is what?
Is perfectly fine.
So it's not illegal, like
it's not illegal. Very, very quick, because we could do an entire hour video on wholesaling. In Illinois, there is no such thing as a wholesale law. Everyone talks about the wholesale law. There is no wholesale law. There is a provision in the Illinois Real Estate Brokerage Act that says in order to offer a property for sale, in order to market for properties that you're not intending on actually buying and holding yourself, all of that requires a broker's license. Most common question I get, I get this every single day. Sure. How do I get around the brokerage, or how do I get around the wholesale law? Can I double close? Can I do this? Can I do that? There is no way around it. You have to get a broker's license. The beautiful thing about it is getting a broker's license is incredibly difficult. Get with someone who Antonio could connect you with, that you can be with their company, sponsor you. But in Illinois, in order to wholesale properties, regardless of how it is, whether it's a double closing, assignment, novation, all of those things, you do have to have a broker's license.
How do you describe a wholesale? A to B to C? How, let's say in basic terms.
Yeah, the two most basic wholesales. There's 100 different variations of this, sure. But the two basic wholesales are either A, a double closing,
okay,
or B, assigning your interest in a property. What is a double closing? Double closing is exactly what it sounds like. You're acquiring a property, you're buying it.
Sure.
You're either using transactional funding or you're paying for that property yourself or with someone else's money. You can use an end buyer's money to purchase on the first transaction if that person allows it, if they're cash, or in limited circumstances, hard money lenders and private money lenders. And then on the same day, you're selling it to a third party end buyer.
Okay.
So A to B, original seller to you, B to C, you to an end buyer, end user. That is a traditional double closing wholesale. An assignment is when there's only one purchase contract.
Okay.
You're purchasing from A, and then you're assigning your interest. Party C takes your C. They become B and purchase directly from A, and they pay you a fee for the right to purchase directly from A. So, I'm buying a property from Joe Smith at 123 Skidoo Street for $100,000.
Okay.
I come to Antonio and say, hey, Antonio, I got this property under contract for $100,000. I think it's worth $150,000. I think it's a good deal. It's a good cash flow. I want you to pay me $20,000. You're still going to have $30,000 in equity. So Antonio buys it directly from the original seller for $100,000, and Antonio pays me $20,000 for giving him my right to buy that property.
So that's the easiest way to do it. What's the most common?
I would say either the assignment or the double close. And again, lots of other ways.
Well, but the double close, you need to have them. They need to have the money, right?
They need to have the money, or they need to have transactional money, or again, in limited circumstances, you can use a private money lender or hard money lender will allow it in very limited circumstances.
In Illinois, they still allow?
Still allow.
How nationwide these kind of laws? Because I know, like in South Carolina, they kind of ban wholesaling.
Yeah, I actually want to. There's a podcast. I don't know if you ever listened to it. Ty the Flip Man. He's in South Carolina.
Okay.
I got to look. I bet you he's done one on South Carolina.
Yeah, I just did one with one of my friends who lives in South Carolina, and but they're going around. They already find some attorneys.
Yeah.
Everybody who can do it.
Yeah. So I don't know all the states because we're not doing the real estate closings. We're doing the lending in all the other states. I know that it's becoming much more prevalent where states are enacting these laws. Primarily, I think it's an initiative being pushed by the National Association of Realtors because, of course, if you go out and source a property off market, you're taking that property out from a potential realtor who is would be listing that in a traditional way. So that's why they're lobbying the state legislatures to pass that law. And of course, investors don't have as strong or organized lobby as the realtors do.
What's one of the let's say common strategies, let's say, that people use the most, like wholesale, seller finance? What have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, you've got wholetailing where someone will buy it and do a very light rehab, and then resell it. Seller financed is becoming a very, very hot thing. What is seller finance? Seller finance is very, very simple. Instead of the Bank of America getting the loan, it's going to be the Bank of Antonio. So I come to you, and maybe I don't have magnificent credit as an investor. Maybe I don't show enough income to go to a bank and get an investment loan. So I come to you, Antonio, and say, hey, Antonio, I can give you the number that you want, $200,000. But the only way that I can give you that $200,000 is if you provide me with the financing. That's not going to work every time because sometimes Antonio wants all the $200,000.
Sure.
But sometimes people are like, hey, look, as long as I'm getting my monthly cash flow on that property and I can get the number that I want versus I can offer you $150,000 today. Cash, you can have their money. But if you want your $200,000 and you finance me at 3% interest, I can get your $200,000. That's the idea behind this, Antonio, is as an investor, we want to have as many tools in our tool belt as we can so that based on what the person who you're at the kitchen table with and you're trying to buy their house, based on what their needs are, you have a tool or a technique that will get them what they want. Real quickly on that, because it just made me think about it. One of the things that I see investors make a mistake on, a lot, is that, and this is why oftentimes in the investors in the general public have sort of a bad reputation, is that they use fear and they use pressure and they use immediacy as you're going to lose your house next week, it's going to tax sale, you're screwed, I'm here to buy your property for cash.
Yeah.
But one of the things, the techniques that we have to do, and it's just a sales technique, we need to identify what that person's needs are. Because we always think that, like, saying, I'm going to buy your house cash tomorrow, people are going to be like, that great. But if you had to think about it, what if the seller lost their husband to cancer a month ago and they have a daughter that's graduating from high school in May and we're in December? And for her, the most important thing is to make sure that she doesn't disrupt her daughter's life and that her daughter can graduate from the high school. And so we need to identify and come from a place of compassion. And kind of my final thought on this would be to create win-wins. This shouldn't be about taking advantage of someone's misfortune.
Sure.
We actually can be in this and help people out of a very tough problem and make money at the same time. And if we come from that sort of perspective, I think that you're ultimately going to be far more successful than the predatory activities that oftentimes are what tarnish all of us in the industry. Sure. Because people are acting in that way.
I hear you talk sometimes, one of these meetings about condominiums, that they're not rentable. How do you, because me as an investor, I want to buy a condominium. Oh, but you can't rent it. Mm-hmm. There is a legal, I know you said it was something legal to acquire and then,
yeah, so there's two things on that, actually. I'm not sure what I might have been talking about then, but number one, FHA has a rule, and so a lot of times a condominium could be a starter home, and it might attract more FHA-type buyers, so you have to understand that when you're buying a condo, you need to know if it's FHA approved. The FHA approval process approves associations because on an annual basis, you have to submit your budget and your delinquencies to the Federal Housing Administration.
Okay.
And the FHA is a product that insures loans. It's the government giving people an opportunity to buy houses. So FHA wants to make sure that they're not giving somebody a loan and they're going to default because the amount of association reserves are so low that they're going to have to impose a special assessment.
Okay, got it.
And then what happens is the person who has to make a monthly payment of $800 all of a sudden gets socked with a $5,000 or $6,000 special assessment. They can't pay it, and then sort of circles the drain, and that property goes into foreclosure because they're now in default with the association.
So that's number one. Number two, let's say if it's not rentable, can I still buy it and create a different document to buy it? Like it's not it's not a rent. I can sell it to anybody for.
Well, that is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
That what you're referring to is associations, whether they're homeowners, I believe.
Yeah.
Homeowners association, townhome associations, and condo associations. This is another Gary Davidson technique.
Okay.
Can't talk about too much of this stuff because these guys have to.
I know.
No, I've got to tell them. So many associations, all out in your suburbs, all these subdivisions have homeowners associations, condo, townhome, homeowners associations, and they've gotten slick, and they say we don't like renters, and we're going to pass a rule that says properties in our subdivision can't be rented. Now, anybody that knows about the economy and economics will say that when you take buyers out of a market, it decreases the value of the homes. So that's a terrible strategy for homeowners associations. But with that being said, what's the technique to circumvent HOAs? Well, again, we talked about seller financing. So while I can't rent the property to you, Antonio, even in today's United States of America with over-regulation and overreaching and everything has got laws associated with it, I still have the right to sell my property to you. So instead of doing a lease, we do what's called a contract for deed, or articles of agreement for deed. And that puts you as the landlord, where you're not a landlord anymore,
you're a homeowner.
You're a homeowner selling it to someone in the best possible position, because your rent converts to a monthly principal, interest, taxes, and insurance payment, and then 1, 2, 3 years down the line, that matures and balloons. And if the person doesn't end up closing, they lose their right to purchase it.
Okay.
So then it effectively turns into what really it was, a rental. However, it's structured in a way that you as the landlord need to understand that at the end of that term, they do have the right to buy it.
Got it. Yeah, that was what I was talking about.
Yeah.
The other question that it comes, sometimes is, okay, I'm going to write the contract and I'm going to put, S and a sign. I know, I hear you talk about a contract. Contract is...
I hate it.
What's a contract? So it's any contract is assignable?
Yeah. So one of the problems with Facebook and these Facebook groups is that a lot of people think they know what they're talking about, but very few people do. And so people offer all of these opinions, and of course, most of the Facebook groups have participants from Utah and California and Nevada and every other place.
Yeah.
In Illinois, a contract is automatically assignable as of right unless the contract has a provision that says that it's not assignable. The standard multi-board contract and almost all real estate contracts don't have a provision excluding your right to assign it. So therefore, to my investor clients, I tell them that it is an absolutely horrendous idea to put, Gary Davidson and or signs, because by putting and or signs, you're effectively jumping up and down and screaming that you're trying to that you're going to be a wholesaler.
Okay.
And so when I get that contract in, and I happen to be just a regular seller's attorney and not representing the investor, I am obligated to call my client and I say, hey, just so you know, I'm not telling you not to sell it to Antonio, but just so you know, this guy probably is not going to close. He's going to try to market it and sell it to someone else. So let's an attorney review tell him that the earnest money is $25,000 because he just offered you $100,000 cash.
Yeah.
So he has no reason not to put $25,000 in earnest money up because he's going to use that money to close anyway.
Sure.
And then that kind of brings things to a head.
And that's one of the things, that's why you need to have a good attorney or to have an attorney who understands the law, because otherwise, you're not doing what, if you're a wholesaler, and you don't know the basic stuff, you're shooting on the foot,
Just those small little things that seem so inconsequential and meaningless, like and or signs, could be the difference between you making a $40,000 or $50,000 assignment fee and the seller's attorney canceling the contract.
It's great. I think, we can keep talking a lot about this stuff, but, let me ask you this, and, we know each other for a long time, and I know, what you stand for and what your, Castle Law stand for. How, what do you, Gary Davidson, like to be remembered for?
So what I would like to be remembered for is being a go-giver, and my currency is relationships, and I like to pull people up. I like to help others, and it's really my why. It's the premise behind Castle Law. All of those attorneys that I saw were suffering in their personal relationship with clients. And when I can help people succeed and achieve success, that's something that's gratifying for me. I shop for my clothes at Menards, much to my wife's displeasure. I eat Jack's Pizza, not as much as I used to.
Yeah, I know.
So I live a pretty humble lifestyle. I have far more than I could have ever possibly imagined. And many people have far more than I do, but I have all that I need. So for me, at 52 years old, seeing other people succeed, seeing smiles come over their faces when they've succeeded, that's really what wakes me up in the morning.
How do you define success? now, because success probably 20 years ago was to have a nice car and
Yep.
the best house. Today, how do you define success?
Yeah, it's funny because I was just shaking my head this morning at a person who made a post who you and I both know, who remain nameless.
I saw that.
But they were talking about success, and it was all about money, and it just, to me, it's a very, very sad thing, because I mean, all of these statements that you hear are so true. We're here on this earth for a very short period of time, and there's no van behind the hearse going to the cemetery with all of our money in it.
Yeah.
And so the impact that we can make on this world and on other people is wealth is defined by our relationships. Wealth is defined by enjoying our company together and seeing our children grow up and driving a nice vehicle, and I mean, those are all symbols of our hard work, and we all need to have a roof over our head. But for me, wealth is defined by how other people view you and how other people talk about you, and how other people view the impact that you've had on their life.
Sure. No, that's great, and I ask this because I mean, I'm 50. I'm gonna be 55, this year, and also, I keep thinking that, success for me 20 years ago is to have a nice car, and change it every year, but now it's different, It's just to have a roof and have a family and be okay. Money is not the priority, I think, in our lives these days,
Success also for me, by the way, is avoiding my wife yelling at me, which this is what keeps me going, because I still have not achieved that success.
Okay.
I try to get through every day without her being upset about something. So I know I still have something to achieve there.
Let me ask you this. How do you feel, how do you feel right now with the changes you made? What was 6 months ago, or how long?
No, I would say, I mean, I've been on this, journey
year?
for, probably a little over a year and a half.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But how do you feel, I mean, what's changed? I mean, how do you see
again, it's all goes back to Antonio, that my business is literally part of my life rather than my life part of my business. And by putting those priorities first, we ended 2024, and maybe it's just happenstance. I don't know, but maybe it's not. We ended 2024 with record profits in the firm by far, opening an office in Scottsdale, hiring people, and bringing on board more institutional clients. And I did all of that while still completely shifting what my main priority was. And I think that I had determined that to be a leader and to expect other people to be disciplined, that I needed to show discipline. And how was it that I could tell people that they need to be disciplined if I wasn't being disciplined in my personal life?
No, and it's a big change, I mean, I remember you sometimes, come to the meetings in short, Yep. And it's nothing wrong, right? Because that's you. But I think, showing your team, that, hey, I'm doing the right thing, it makes sense, because now I say, okay, yeah, we got to be better.
Well, and it's funny. Thank you for noticing, because now I wear now I wear a coat and a nice button-down shirt. I still am the same person though, because I went into one of these places in Oak Brook, one of the fancy Nordstrom or whatever. And I was going to New York to go see a client, and I did. I typically wore, jeans, shorts, maybe a sweater vest if I was trying to be fancy. And so I went in there and I said, I need this, and this. And, I thought, gosh, what is this going to be? $500-600. I used to buy all my suits from Goodwill when I was graduated from law school. Yeah. And so I get up there and I got this sport coat here. It's a Canali.
Okay.
Which I didn't know anything about Canali, but apparently Canali's extremely fancy.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's similar to I don't know all the fancy names, but Canali's like super fancy. And Ryan Smith told me it was super fancy. And so I get up there, and I think I had a sport coat, a suit, and 2 shirts. And I am not even kidding you. The guy's like $6,000. It was something like that, So first of all, I was leaving for New York in about 6 days, and I already had to pay an extra $100 to have the stuff tailored. So, and secondly, I was too embarrassed to say I didn't want to spend that kind of money. So I pulled my credit card out and I paid for this stuff. I don't even know what the point of this was. Oh, the shock of this. Paying for this, but you know what? This is a darn nice sport coat.
Sure, yeah,
it looks good on me, doesn't it?
Looks good, man. So, and I mean, that's good that you now understand that. Hey, I need to look good for my team too, because they're looking at you as a leader. Yep. It's great, and I know you, and I know the kind of person you are, but. I mean, yeah, you change and change for good, And sometimes we don't want to see that change, We don't want to do it. I mean, I remember the other day when you came in that, your son or your daughter, they told you about the clothes that you were going to bring at one of the events with Rack 360.
Yeah.
So, and I remember, the day that you acquired, these guys,
Yep.
When we were in one of the meetings, say, hey, these guys are here,
Yep.
Big firm, and I mean, I'm very, I like what you do, and I mean, we've been friends for a long time, and it's great to have you here. It's great to hear from you, and as you know, I remember some of the stuff that you said, and I mean, you're a connector. You say, you're a connector. You connect. Most of the guys that we know each other for a long time, but you connect people and you connect, other businesses, and that's a great thing. I admire you, for the person that you are, and for the business that you bring, and it's a great pleasure, for me to have you here and speak to my community, and other communities, But what would you say to our community, the Hispanic community, the FlipLatino community, that just start, thinking about investing? What will be your idea or your,
Well, this guy right here is a beast. He is an absolute beast. As much as he might admire me, I admire him. What he has done and impacting other people's lives is just absolutely remarkable. You also are a go-giver, and you also are a connector. And, you just have to just get in a community like FlipLatino, get involved, pull somebody along with you. There's always something of value that you can offer to somebody else. You're always able to add value. Just when you think everybody else around you knows more than you, you're always going to be able to teach me something. I'm going to be able to teach you something. And just share in that community and bring other people into the community and help them, because there's nothing more rewarding than to bring somebody and have them experience success.
Sure.
So yeah, just become involved, get active, and it's not the seeds that you sow in the ground today oftentimes mature in 3, 6 months, 9 months. You have to stick with it, whether it's diet and exercise, whether it's whatever it is. In real estate investing is the same. It's real easy to get discouraged.
Sure.
If you think that you're just going to go to one FlipLatino meeting and then the next thing you know, you're driving around in a Rolls Royce, or that you're flying around in an airplane, or whatever your goal is for yourself, like this takes time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of hard work. It takes effort. Real estate investing is something that provides a lot of opportunities for people, but what it isn't is a quick fix. And so you just have to keep working it, keep coming to the meetings, and it'll turn for you. But I think you will agree with this, that there's a lot of turnover because people are always looking for the next thing, right? Real estate investing, to get to where you want to be, your position in life, FlipLatino's not Ozempic. Right?
It takes time. Yeah.
It takes time.
It takes time. Well, Gary, thank you for coming, and thank you for all your knowledge, and I appreciate it. Where can we find you or your team at Castle Law?
Yep, just put in Castle Law in your web browser, and you're gonna be able to find us. So we're all over the place. I mean, really, just going right straight to castlelaw.com. Super easy domain. Just put in castlelaw.com, and then you'll be able to contact us all right there on the web.
Okay, and if they want to find Gary Davidson?
Yeah, if you want to find me, come to a FlipLatino meeting. He's making me give my cell phone number out, which is good for you. Guess what? According to my wife, I answer my phone for every single person other than her. So if you're not my wife, your call will get answered. I told her as soon as she starts paying me, I'll answer her call too. No, just kidding. The way you get a hold of me is my cell phone, 815-351-0408. Just remember, answers are free. Questions are free. Answers cost money.
Great, thank you. Thank you for hearing. Thank you, guys. And esto es Flip Latino, inversiones en tu idioma. Gracias.